Welcome to the Resonate podcast with Aideen. I'm Aideen Riada, and my guest today is the wonderful Xuefei Yang, the classical guitarist from China. And I'm going to just read just a few words about Xuefei, who she said we can call her Fei to make it easier. So Fei's journey from very humble beginnings in China all the way to international acclaim, serves as an inspiration to us all. She was born from the ashes of the Cultural Revolution in China. Fei defied the odds to become the first ever guitarist in China to enter a music school. Now she graces stages around the globe, captivating audiences with her virtuosity and passion for music. I'm so excited to interview you today, Fei, because the reason that I get to do this is that we were put in touch by my brother-in-law, David Creevy, who is the artistic director for a wonderful guitar festival in my hometown of Neuros. The Neuros Guitar Festival is happening in 2024. If you're listening to this interview later, it's happening in the July of 2024. And I know that in Neuros, we're very excited to have you come and visit our hometown. Tell us a little bit about all of this, journey you've been on. You came from so humble beginnings. Why was the guitar such an unusual instrument for a Chinese person to choose to pursue in music school?
Hello, Aideen. So happy to talk to you. I'm really looking forward to returning to Ireland, one of my favorite countries to play, because I always feel comfortable there. As I mentioned to you before, that I find that the culture in Ireland and in China, somehow there are some similarities in our cultures, such as values of family, So anyway, so I'm really, really looking forward to returning to Ireland. So talking about my journey, wow, it's I've come a long way. When I was 7, I started playing the guitar, but the guitar wasn't my choice. In fact, back then I didn't even know what a guitar was. So I was just an energetic child, and then my parents, they were both teachers. So my mom wanted me to learn an instrument to help calm me down, to help concentrating on the academic studies. But back then, she wanted me to study accordion with the music teacher in my school because accordion was the most popular instrument. Because back then piano was very expensive and accordion was like the cheaper keyboard to accompany choirs. So there were lots of choirs in China. So she thought about accordion. But then when she asked the music teacher in my school to teach me accordion, the teacher was organizing a guitar group. So she said, oh, why don't let Xuefei to join my guitar group? But actually that was a guitar group. Also, it's a choir as well. So we play the guitar to accompany singing rather than play accordion. So I just joined the guitar group as the youngest member. I didn't even know what guitar was. So now looking back, that was a pure destiny, I guess. I sometimes really feel that I didn't choose a guitar, it's the guitar chose me. And when I say that my school had this guitar group, I think it's very possibly that my school was the only school in the whole country which had a guitar group. So yes, so that's a pure destiny. But back then, because it was like just a few years after the Cultural Revolution, and during the Cultural Revolution, nobody could study Western art, not Western instruments. So after that, everything just started to revive. So as Western music. But then talking about Western music, it's the piano and the strings, and they have a long tradition in China. Guitar, especially classical guitar, doesn't have any tradition in China. It's only in the early 20th century, some foreign teachers, they came into China and some, what you call it, missioners? Religious people,
Missionaries.
missionaries. Yes, they came in China. Maybe these people, they brought in guitar. So really the history, the tradition in China is very short, very, yeah. So, and then people's head, guitar is a pop instrument. They know about pop groups like Beatles, then they play the guitar to accompany singing. But then at that time, the pop music is associated with capitalism, which is not seen as very, very, how do you say, very high class, So the guitar is associated with not a very nice image, let's put it simply. Yeah, so not many people.
In
In
China, it
China,
was considered like a lowly instrument
yes,
because it was mainly used for pop music.
that's right.
Yeah, that makes
Not a
sense.
serious, yeah, not a serious instrument. But actually, I find sometimes even in the Western countries, sometimes that's the case. People talk about, also, you play guitar. Oh, can you sing a song? They think a guitar is just strumming a few chords. They don't think guitar is a
Yeah.
serious instrument. So yeah, so I guess everywhere is the same. Classical guitar is kind of niche. Yeah. So anyway, to cut my story short, so I loved the instrument and I showed talent, better than other kids. Then I entered some international events, and then I was told by the foreign experts that I could be a professional guitarist. So I thought, oh, I could be a guitarist, but I didn't have any idea what it means to be a professional musician or a professional guitarist. I have no idea what it means and how difficult it would be. So, but it's formed in my head. And then my teacher told me that the only way to be a professional musician was to enter a music school, a conservatoire. But then back then, the conservatoires in China were great, but none of them had a guitar faculty. So I had to enter. I first entered a middle school attached to Central Conservatory of Music, which is the best conservatory in China, but as an unofficial student, which meant when I graduate from the school, I wouldn't have a qualification. So my parents were very against to this choice of decision. But I was just 12. As 12 years old, I just thought that, and maybe part of me was quite a rebellion. I thought I don't want to listen to my parents. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I didn't think about the future. I didn't think about those practical things, how to make a living and a job and etc. So I entered the middle school, and then now looking back, it was quite a big risk to enter a school without the guarantee of qualification.
Especially in the world of classical music, because in something like pop music, nobody asks what's your qualification in guitar before you perform. But if you wanted to perform at the highest level, there would be an expectation of qualification and having certain teachers that you've worked with. That is part of building your credibility. So how did you get around that
Well,
as
yeah.
a musician moving into performing?
Well, in China, certainly qualification, yeah, is more valuable than here. I feel like in the West, if you can play really well, probably people don't care about your qualification. But in China, it's quite important. So somehow, I was lucky that after a few years that my school, Central Conservatoire, had the guitar faculty. So I did graduate finally with a bachelor's degree. I was the first one to hold a bachelor's degree in guitar. But then also by that time, it was a long time from middle school to graduation with bachelor's degree is 10 years. During that years, I had some opportunities to perform in Europe, namely Portugal and Spain. And so I open-minded there. I thought that, wow, this is where I wanted to study music because, guitar is a Western instrument. And I felt that back then, I wanted to go abroad to study music. And when I became adult, I had more confusion about music making, musicianship, and my future. Because when I was really young, I didn't think about that much, and I had a good technique. And when I became an adult, I started to think about these more, things in more depth. So I thought that I wanted to go to the West, but then cut the long story short. Then I was lucky that I got a full scholarship from ABRSM in England, which enabled me to come to Royal Academy of Music to pursue a postgraduate course. So I'd say that I was trained with very good techniques in China, and then after I came to UK, my mind was opened, my ears opened, and then I gained my musicianship. So yeah.
What a beautiful journey. And so, like, from such an unlikely start, as you say,
Yeah.
such a random, I've got this guitar group. What would you say to someone, maybe some young people are going to be listening to this podcast? What do you say to young people that have that desire to pursue music? When they come up with obstacles, what would you advise for them?
Well, I used to say that. I used to say that first, you really need to have a passion. You really need to have talent. These two are very important, and support also very important. I mean, my parents were against to my choice, but in the end, they did support with my choice, and then they spent lots of money, to buy a professional guitar for me. To be honest, they wouldn't even tell my grandparents, because my grandparents wouldn't understand why you spent so much money on buying a guitar. Anyway, back to the advice to teenager. I used to say that to have your passion and love what you do and stick to it. But sometimes now I feel like it seems not enough, because to be honest, I feel that if you're how to say, if you just be honest, if you just stick to it, but if your ability is not good enough, I'm just talking honestly, how to say this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No, I
just
see what you're
feel,
saying. I think
yeah,
there's a certain elitism in certain types of music that you have to make a decision where you fit in the spectrum, because I feel
that's
like
right.
there's a place for everyone within music. Like even somebody who plays in the local bar, there's a spectrum of where you can go and how far you can get. And so it's good to be a bit practical, but also to aim a little higher maybe than you
Yes,
think you can, but
yes.
then to not be too unhappy if you end up, maybe not performing quite as much as you would like, or as quite as high a level as you might like.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So I say, but the love is important, because the thing is, if you don't love your job or your career or your life enough, or your craft, then you will find it's really difficult. Musical career is difficult, or maybe any other career is difficult. But then if you love it, then you won't feel it, or maybe you feel less difficulty. But then if you don't love it enough, if you want to do it for making money, or for your face, for showing off, then you will find it very difficult in any field. So I think to have the passion and the love is very important. But at the same time, as you say, you need to be realistic with what you fit in the this big
Yeah.
plectrum, and maybe being realistic, but put your bar a little bit higher so you can push yourself a bit more. And in the end, I really feel that you enjoy the process, but not to be frustrated by the result. That is very important, because I think you can aim high, especially when you're young, right? You can aim high, but when the things doesn't come to your way, you can easily feel frustrated or feel bad. But maybe we should avoid that. So in the end of the day, we need to enjoy the process and care less about the result. But this is easy to say. It's hard to achieve, I guess. Yeah.
That's a really good piece of advice. Being in the moment, being, enjoying your practice as well. So I can imagine, I'm just guessing here, that practice is your biggest job, the one you spend almost the most time on. Tell us a little bit about that discipline that you had to, build within yourself, and if you have any advice, about that.
Yes, definitely. I think discipline is very important. As you say, we have to practice certain hours every day since a very young age. I have to say that no matter how much you love your music, no matter how much I love playing guitar and love playing music, but it doesn't mean that I'll enjoy practicing every day. I think everybody the same. No matter how much you love your job, it doesn't mean that you'll enjoy it every moment or every day. So there are lots of times I feel that I don't want to practice. But then I think the thing is the core drive is when I think about that, I really want to perform well. I really want to convey my music to the audience. I really want to move them. And then that, what do you call that? Motivation. That's a motivation. Then that will make me think, oh, I better practice now. And then not just practice physically, and practice with meaning and practice with directions and with thoughts. So I think motivation is important. Otherwise we all have the lazy moment. And then technically, of course, I will find different ways to give myself that motivation, like finding different music. I think to keep interest and keep curiosity is very important. I think that's why I feel like I have a wide range of taste in music, and I'm curious about what this music is like, what's the background, why it's become like this, and then during the process to do the research and to find out and to actually play it, and then you get more interest. So I think keeping the curiosity is quite important to keep your interest in the music and the motivation, of that you really want to do something well, and that put you to practice every day. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I know from any habit that we create, whether that's practice or anything else that we would like to achieve, that it becomes, something that needs to be kind of routine. Do you have any tips for how long you practice or when you practice, or how do you arrange that, to make it easier for yourself?
I think it's a bit easier to have a routine when you're younger. You only need to go to school and practice and do some academic work. That's it. So your life is kind of, you can, and your parents does the housework for you. And then when you become
Yeah.
adult, you have more things to do. And also I feel like I wanted to have a life as well, and then I feel I have things to say in my music. So in a way, I guess it's harder to have a routine, but again, my motivation is I wanted to play well. I want to play well until old age. And every time when I think about that, I thought I better to practice every day. So I say that if I do have a routine, I would say that I try to even just play a little bit. I try to practice most of the days. Maybe one day a week at most. I'll put the guitar away. So to keep my
Okay.
physical ability, especially when you get older, you lose some of the. I will try to prevent losing any physical dexterity. And then if I practice, I'll try to make sure that I warm up. That's very important because you don't want to get injury, same as athletes. And when I practice, it's different. When I was teenager, I would try to play difficult pieces, and try to exaggerate things. But now I try to save my physical energy. Actually, sometimes I practice on a little bit smaller guitar, and I don't play too loud to try to save my energy. And it's more like practicing through mind with what I want to do. The coordination, focus on the coordination, technically and musically, really use my brain more. That's the advantage we have when we're older, So I use my brain more to think what I'm trying to achieve technically or musically. But when I was younger, probably I do more hours physically, but I think less. So I guess we could make up on the time that we lost on practice, but make it up by thinking more carefully.
I love that. I think that's actually something that could really be a game changer for someone listening. I know that in sports, that's considered a very positive approach. Where you kind of are looking for this biofeedback from just thinking through the physical motions. And there's been research, I believe, that shows that you improve your performance through mentally practicing.
I believe so too. Yes,
Yeah.
because they're so
No, that's
controlled by the brain.
absolutely. Yeah. Your brain is the one telling your hands what to do, right?
Yes.
So you mentioned earlier how you've got a big curiosity, different kind of styles of music. Tell us a little bit about some of the pieces that you love to play that aren't strictly classical.
Yeah, so in this program, I'm going to play in a New Rose festival. I mean, most of the classical guitarists, they will play classical repertoire, kind of traditional classical repertoire. So my program will consist some pieces from my country, China. And that is, you rarely hear them play on guitar. And some pieces like they maybe belong to popular music, Brazilian popular music. So bossa nova and what else? Do I have some like anyway, it's a big range of styles music in my program. So I feel that guitar is such a versatile instrument. You see that a lot in the pop music. You see that in rock and roll music and also in classical music. And it's such a versatile instrument. It can do a lot of different music. So I'd like to show that side of music. So in that concert in July, it will have different styles: Spanish, Chinese, Latin, bossa nova.
Well, I'm sure it'll be an amazing concert. And I know that you're going to be, you've been working on recording new pieces. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your latest project and what you're excited to be recording now?
Yes, I'm a very proud with my recordings. Actually, looking back, I've done a variety of recordings: solos, chambers, and Brazilian Baroque, Spanish. So the new recording that's going to come out is called "Songs of Joys and Sorrow." That is a recording I did with cellist Johannes Moser. So its album consists mainly songs that relate to our personal life, personal growth. So have John Dowland, Renaissance English lute song master, and Schubert, the big romantic composer, and Falla, Manuel de Falla is the Spanish composer, and some modern music written by Chinese composers. So yes, so it's an album of again a variety of music, and cello is very lyrical, very it's a lyric instrument which sound is very familiar, very similar to human voice, and then the guitar is very intimate and is very supportive, guitar and cello. I think it's a beautiful combination. So this is the upcoming recording.
That's wonderful.
And also some pieces I'm going to play in my concert in New Rose Festival are from my latest solo album, which is called Guitar Favorites. So that album consists lots of the album consists the most classic pieces of the classical guitar repertoire. Also, those pieces relate to certain moments of my musical journey, some key moments. So it's kind of album tells my personal musical journey. So it's a very personal album. But also, I hope that general audience will like it too, because there are lots of well-known pieces of the guitar.
Well, you speak so beautifully about your journey. I hope that during your concert, maybe when you introduce the pieces, that you talk a little bit about them. Is that something you do sometimes?
Oh, I do that all the time. Yes, I think that especially guitar concerts, I feel that when you play in the intimate venue and when the people sitting so close to you, and you go on stage, I feel this odd to not telling them now what I'm playing and why I'm choosing the piece and how I feel about the piece. So I feel that it's very important to tell the audience how I feel about this music, and then probably that can help them to understand the music and to feel the music more. So yeah, so I always do introduce the music and also talk about a little bit more my personal understanding about the repertoire. So that's what I usually do.
I'm so excited for your concert, and I feel that it will be very accessible from what you're saying.
I hope so. Usually that I pick wide repertoire, so some people know that. I hope if some people they know the instrument and then they will enjoy it, or if some people don't really know about the classical guitar, they would also enjoy it. So hopefully my repertoire will achieve that kind of result. Hopefully I can make some new fans to my instrument.
And I know that they can find your music then on Spotify and all the usual platforms, and that you'll be have some albums available
That's
at
right.
the concert.
Yes, I will take some physical copies. But you can find all my recordings on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube.
Beautiful. And I will be putting some your contact website with the show notes for today's podcast. And I'd just like to thank you so much for taking the time to come on here and share so much of the background behind your music and your some of your advice. I think was really beautiful, and I think it'll make a difference to people. Is there anything, before we finish up, is there anything that you would also like to say to the listeners?
I just feel that with I'm growing older now, so I just feel so lucky that I have music in my life. It's like a forever soulmate, and the guitar, when you play it, you hold it with your body and you play it in the evening. It's like a forever friend. So I just want to say to everybody, I hope that you can find that your soulmate in terms of art, and it's just so lucky to have some kind of art form in life. I think if you know what your passion is, that is the biggest luck we have, I think.
That's beautiful advice, Faye. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's been listening today. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we wish you all well with your own creative pursuits. And if you're anywhere near us in Ireland, we would encourage you to get your tickets soon for Faye's concert in New Ross. And the details will be in the show notes. It's the New Ross Guitar Festival. .com, and we look forward to having people come from all over Ireland to come and see you, because the quality and the level of guitar playing that's going to be there this summer is going to be phenomenal. Thank you so much, Faye, for being here.
Thank you, Aideen. I really enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening.